Okay, so let's get started on doing a little estimating of our square roots. If you'll look up to the top of the paper, you see I have my square root number line ready to go. Uh, my perfect squares are on top, my square roots are on the bottom. So we're going to get started. Let's start out with a simple one first. We'll start out with, let's try to estimate the square root of 10. Okay, so if I'm looking for the square root of 10, all we're going to do is try to find out where would I put 10 on the number line in the perfect squares. So if I look, I would know 10 would go between 9 and 16. So the perfect square to the left of 10 is 9. To the right of 10 is 16. So it's between two perfect squares. Okay. So what I'm looking for now is, what is the best estimate for the square root of 10? Well, I know the square root of 9 is 3. And I know the square root of 16 is 4. So I know that the square root of 10 is somewhere between 3 and 4. So to figure out where it's at, we're going to just make us a mixed number. You ready? Okay, so I'm going to start out with 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my square root I know is 10, and I'm going to subtract the square root to the left. So 10 minus 9 is 1. That's going to be my numerator. Okay, here's the bottom part. 16 minus 9, the square root to the right minus the square root to the left. So that's going to be 16 minus 9 is 7. So I know it's 3 and 1/7. Well, we want to turn it into a decimal, so we know it's going to be 3 point something. So when we're going to come over here, we're going to draw our division symbol. We put the 1 inside, the 7 outside. Now, again, we got to do a long division because we can't use a calculator with this. So 7 goes into 1, it won't fit with it. So we've got to add a 0. So we're going to bring up our decimal. Now I know 7 will go into 10 one time. 10 minus 7 is 3. Well, we want to round these right now just to the nearest tenths. Sometimes we will round them to the hundredths, but just for today we're going to round them to the tenths. But that means I need one more number here to tell me what to do to that 1. So I'm going to add a 0, bring it down. Now 7 goes into 30. If we know our multiplication, we know that 7 times 5 is 35, which is too big. So we're going to have a 4. So we're going to subtract 28, and we're 2. And as long as this number is smaller than this one, we're okay. Now, so what does it tell me here? Remember, if I'm rounding up or down, if it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, if this number is, that means leave this number as it is. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we're going to round it up. So this number is telling me to leave this one alone. So the best estimate here is going to round down to 1. So I'm going to put my 1 here. So the best estimate for the square root of 10 is approximately 3.1. Okay, if you'll look up here, 10 is really close to 9, isn't it? Okay, so it's closer to 9 than it is to 1. So if I was to put it on the number line, I probably would have put it somewhere about right there. Okay, and all we're doing is making our fractions. All right, let's try another one. Okay, let's try the square root of 96. Let's get a little bit bigger one. Okay, so the square root of 96. So when I start looking at my number line, I see if I keep going, I keep going, oh, somewhere right in here, because it's bigger than 81, but it's less than 100. So the perfect square to the left is 81. The perfect square to the right is 100. Now, let's look at our square root. What's the square root of 81? Is 9. The square root of 100 is 10, because 10 times 10 is 100. So we know the square root of 96 is going to be between 9 and 10. Okay, so let's set up our fractions, our mixed number. Okay, remember we're going to subtract these two. So it's 96 minus 81, which is 15. So that's my numerator. Okay, 100 minus 81 is 19. Okay, so I'm looking here. It is a kind of big number, so I always look to see if I can reduce. Well, nothing will reduce, so I've got to deal with these two big numbers. So we know it's going to be 9 point something, so we just got to figure out 9 point what. Okay, so come right over here. Remember, draw your division symbol. 15 goes inside, 19 goes outside. All right, 19 won't go into 15, so we have to add our 0, bring it up. Now, how many times will 19 go into 15? Well, I don't really know, so we'll just have to start guessing and checking. So let's see. I'm going to try, let's try 6 just to see what will happen. 6 times 9 is 54. Carry your 5. 6 and 1, so that's 114. So we're still a little off from 150. So let's go on a little bit higher. Let's try 8. Let's just see. 8 times 9 is 72. Carry your 7. That's a bad 2, excuse me. 72. Carry your 7. 152. Alright, so 6 was too small. 8 is too big, so we're going to try 7. So we're going to go ahead and put 7 in the box. Let's see. 7 times 9 is 63. Carry a 6. 7 times 1 is 7. 13. Alright, let's see what we got. 10 minus 3 is 7. 4 minus 3 is 1. So we're good. This number's smaller. So let's try. Let's go ahead and erase these guys over here. Let's get these out of the way. Alright. So let's try the next number now. Let's go. Remember, we've got to have one more number. Okay. Now, how many times will 19 go into 170? Well, we saw 7 is 133. So I think we just did 6. Let's try 8. Let's go back and try 8 again. 19 times 8 was what, 152? Is that right? Okay. Let's try one more. Let's try 19 times 9 just to be safe. That's 81. Carry your 8 is 171. So 9 is a little too big. So we're going to have to go with 8. Alright, so 17 is 8. So 72. Carry your 7. 152. And 18, as long as it's bigger, we're okay. Smaller than this one, we're okay. So now, this is what we were talking about a while ago. Remember, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we got to round up. So this number is going to become 0.8. So the best estimate for the square root of 96 is approximately 9.8. And if you'll look, again, this is almost 10, isn't it? Because 96 is really close to 100. So it would probably go somewhere about right here. So all you're doing, remember, you're just creating that mixed number, changing your fraction part of the mixed number into a decimal. Let's try one more. About the square root. Let's get a big one. Let's do the square root of 397. Alright. So if I'm looking along my number line up here, I keep moving, I keep going until I find a number that is 397 is bigger than, well, it's bigger than 361, but it's smaller than 400, so I can put my numbers here. 361, excuse me, okay, and the square root of 400. Okay, so we know if we look back up here, the square root of 361 is 19. The square root of 400 is 20. So we know the approximate estimated square root of 397 is going to be between 19 and 20. So let's just see what it's going to be. Now if you look, again, this one's going to be really close to 400, so it's going to be up there around 19.8, someone 19.9 somewhere, but let's just see. So if we go right here, we have 397 minus 361. That's a pretty big number. Let's go over here and let's do the math. 397 minus 361, that'll be a 6, that'll be a 3. So this number is 36, excuse me. So my numerator is 36. Let's try the denominator, okay? So I have 400 minus 361. That's two big numbers. So let's go over here and let's try to do the subtraction. Well, we've got to borrow here. We're going to borrow 10, which makes it a 9. So it makes it a 10, so we have 9 and 3. And these two are going to cancel. So we have 36 over 39. All right. Immediately I look right here, I said, "Ooh, those are pretty big numbers. Is there anything that I can reduce 36 and 39? Well, I know 3 will go into both of them, so let's reduce it a little bit first. 36 divided by 3 is 12, and I think 39 divided by 3 is 13. So now these numbers are a little more user-friendly, put it that way. So we know it's going to be 19 point something. Let's just figure out 19 point what. So make your division sign. 12 goes inside, 13 goes outside. Okay, so we know 13 won't go into 12, so we have to add a 0. Now, how many times will 13 go into 120 without going over? Well, it's going to be 9 or 8 or something. It's going to be one of those big numbers because these numbers are really close. So let's just check 9. We're going to guess 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Carry your 2. 117. So I think we hit it on the head right there. So now 117. Let's get rid of this. All right. So that's going to be 3. Now 13 won't go into 3, but we got to have one more number here. So let's add a 0, bring it down. 13 goes into 30 2 times without going over. So I have 4. So we've estimated this out now. 2 tells me to leave the 9 alone. Okay, leave the 9 alone. Let's move this up just for a second. So it's going to be approximately 0.9. So the best estimate for the square root of 397, the best estimate, remember, is approximate. Remember, we have to use the approximate sign because we are estimating. We're giving our best guess is approximately 19.9. Okay, so that's all you're doing is making that fraction, that mixed number, excuse me, and then changing it into a decimal. Let's try one of these really hard ones that we talked about in class today. You ready? Let's do a really hard one. Okay, let's try the square root of 7. Okay, last one we're going to finish it up with a really hard one. You ready? Alright, so if I'm looking, 7 is bigger than 0, it's bigger than 1, bigger than 4, but it's not bigger than 9. So there are my perfect squares. 4 is to the left, 9 is to the right. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. So I know the estimate for the square root of 7 is going to be between 2 and 3. So let's figure out what it's going to be. So I'm going to bring down my 2 because I know it's got to be bigger than 2. Alright, so if I go here, 7 minus 4 gives me 3. Draw another line here. 9 minus 4 gives me 5. So my numerator is 3. My denominator, that's a terrible 5, by the way, sorry, is 5. Okay, so now we know it's going to be 2 point something, but 2 point what? Well, let's see. Draw your division. 3 inside, 5 outside. 5 won't go into 3, but we will go into 30 6 times, and 6 times 5 is 30, which is 0. Now, I don't need to go any further because I know it's 2.6. So the best estimate for the square root of 7 is approximately 2.6. Okay, and if you'll look, think about 6. 2.6 is about halfway between 2 and 3, right? Well, here the distance is 3. Here the distance is 5. So it's almost in the middle. So if you was to put this one on the number line, you would probably put it somewhere just a little bit over halfway. Okay? All right. Hope you can do the rest of them on your homework, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.